You know a good day's ending when one of these rolls on your bench ready for tomorrow. But that means the day started with me getting tyres fitted to the new wheels. I don't do it myself because these guys just down the road are far better set up to do it than I am. But back in the workshop, other things need to be sorted first, like this S1000 that's just had the valve clearances done. And while it was going back together, my electrician friend dropped by to put a socket on my ceiling. So for everybody who said my temporary fix of running an extension cord up the wall would become a permanent feature, well look, I'm getting it sorted. It did give me a chance to sort out my second room though, that had become an absolute mess, so quick tidy up and clean over was perfect. A couple of clips to keep the wire in place and they're all fitted up. The tidy up was rudely interrupted by my other cat. You've probably never seen this one because this is the first time in 3 years I think he's ever been in here. The BMW's back together and coming off the bench, ready for that Ducati to go straight on. After I'd been out on the BMW for a test ride and got it cleaned down when it got back, I didn't have enough time to get on with the Ducati, so I finished off a few small jobs I had, like fuel taps and a set of carbs to go over. And it was all because there was a family barbecue going on, and if there's food on offer, I am going to be there. Have you ever seen a less interested dog? The weekends are always full of bikes being dropped off and collected. That means one BMW out and another one in. But before I can get to work on the S1000 XR, I've got some carbs to go back on a phaser. Gently wiggle them in between the two rubbers, nip them up, and then we can get the bike back together, get it warmed up because I've got to drop the oil out of it and give it an oil change. This bike's extremely clean for being over 20 years old, but that's half the problem I see with carburetors. Bikes that sit around and don't get used gum up carburetors and cause all sorts of issues. While the oil was draining, I realised I'd run out of coffee, so I nipped out to Bread Sauce. This place is quickly becoming a Norwich institution. I got the machine dialed in for the new beans and it was back in the workshop to top the phaser up with oil, get it off the bench because that was now done and ready for a test ride. And this little gem can be loaded up ready for tomorrow. Now, it is the weekend, so the car gets a quick clean. I so nearly got the hose out to get her out of the way. And this low-powered battery pressure washer is just a lifesaver. I use it for cleaning everything. Bikes, cars, it's fantastic. And I finish off the day with a run before the sunset.
Just another Monday in the workshop.
It's starting with this lovely Honda 250 on the workbench, but it doesn't start. I was really excited to get this little bike in because I really wanted one of these when I was 17 and I've never had the chance to ride one. So we need to get it running so I can test ride it. Can you see that? They rev to 18,000 RPM. That is why these are such an iconic little bike. It's still not firing with added fuel, so that makes me believe it's not a lack of fuel or a blocked carburetor problem. So I need to get down to the spark plugs to make sure it's got a good strong spark. With the new set of plugs it does, so the next thing up is a compression test. This came back slightly on the low side, not enough to stop it running, so we put everything back together and I did manage to get it running with the new plugs. A vacuum balance was done just to check for any other issues, only a slight adjustment was needed, so the conclusion is the drop in compression makes it really easy to wet the plugs, and as soon as the plugs are wet, this bike won't start. But I am not test riding it in this weather, so we get the next bike on the bench. It's here to have a new nav system fitted, but this definitely seems to do a bit more than just navigation. It's got cameras front and rear, also it's got an inbuilt GPS unit, and you can also sync up to your iPhone with Apple CarPlay. But while I was fitting this, I nipped inside and noticed something very strange in my house.
Loose? Someone's been in our garden.
Yep, and while I was away this weekend, someone in my family nipped around and planted a load of vegetables in my garden. I think they're trying to tell me something. The switched earth was then found for the BMW so the module can come live and then we can test it. And it's quite an impressive little unit. The day finished with one of the best punches in the world, all the way from the Caribbean, with a whole wheel of cheese. Nipping back to the workshop after for the last couple of bolts for the BMW.
And that's why this is a random Tuesday in the workshop.
Is starting with a Honda CBR 1000 SP going on the bench. It's already had a new lock set fitted, so before we take it to the dealership to get the keys coded in, I'm going to give it a full fluid change. While the oil's draining, I get fresh fluid pumped through the rear brake system. New filter can be spun on, then we can top it up with fresh oil. Fresh fluid is pulled through the front system and we finish off by bleeding the master cylinder. We're now going backwards 20 years in Honda's catalogue with a CBR 250. Yesterday we got this bike running, so today I need to give it a full fluid change. Now I hate having to lift my workbench up and down continuously while working on a bike, so I try and plan everything so it can be done with only lifting the bench once and then dropping it back to the ground. So front brakes when it's half lifted, all the way to the top for the oil change and rear brake fluid. And it was perfect times for the parts delivery today. As I was finishing up that rear brake, the new parts arrived. So the sump pump can go back in, the new filter is fitted, and then I can fill it up with oil. I have a pretty small workshop, and I don't like to keep loads of things here in stock. I physically can't stock everything I do for every bike. So that's just how I have to work. Now this beautiful 1199 Panigale needs some fork seals replaced. It's not been used for a long time, and it's actually really bad for the seals. They dry up and then leak continuously. So the forks are pulled off the bike. I always crack off the top cap in the bike, makes it far easier, and it was at this point when I got them on the bench I realised they'd sent out the wrong seal. I instantly regretted jacking up this bike in front of my door, that's going to be there a while.
And this is the average day of a Wednesday. Oh, we went to the Honda garage. Some more bikes. Another cup of coffee. A really big yellow bike. Some keys. I've seen that bike in the last video. My workshop looking clean for once. Oh, I can open those doors. Definitely wasn't planned. Don't make a mess. Different jumper. I think that may have been an oil change. Ah, fuck it, this is good stuff, okay? You got to buy this. So I get a sponsor. And I don't know what they are.
Right, let's do a proper voiceover for this video. If you watch it again, this time hopefully you'll have some sort of idea what's going on. I'm at my local Honda dealership this morning because I need to get some keys coded to a CBR 1000. Of course I'm going to take the free coffee and have a look around the showroom. I really like their little monkey bikes, I think it'd be a cool little city bike. But with the keys coded, it was back to the workshop. I've got a load of test rides to do because the sun is finally out, and you know I test rode that lovely CBR 250, I'll do a full video on that later. Something a bit different in the workshop now, a Triumph T140 Bonnie. Now I need to get these doors open before it gasses me out, but this is for a regular customer who's been with me for years, so as I don't really do these things anymore, I can't say no. But I enjoy doing the odd one of these, something a bit different in your day to break up the routine of the similar bikes you see. It's quite interesting to go back in time and do something that's really simple and basic just like this. Still love the fact they send out classic oil in metal tins just like this, even though it is a pain in the ass to pour into a jug. These later date classic Bonnevilles had the oil in the frames, so we fill that up first. We've got some leaky fork seals, but it's the end of the day, so we'll do that tomorrow.